Hi, this is Ben from Strings by Mail, and I'd like to discuss changing acoustic guitar strings. We're going to stick with just a standard dreadnought guitar. For the most part, acoustic guitars follow the same guidelines. They don't vary too much in the build of the guitar and how you change the strings. We're going to start by introducing the fact that we like to protect our guitars at the base because we use tools in this area with a Strings by Mail bridge bib. What it does is just protects around the area that you're working. Occasionally you might drop a tool, want to avoid any damage to the guitar. As far as tools goes, pretty basic. You got some wire cutters to trim the guitar strings at the top and bottom. We got the optional pliers to help get the strings out of the hole if they get stuck, and a string winder for quickly tuning the strings up and down, and a tuner just to help tune it at the end. So I'm going to start off just by quickly taking off all the strings at the end. We try to do things in a batch. So what I'm going to do is just loosen up all the strings in one shot. It is okay to loosen up all 6 strings at once. Some people do one string at a time and replace one string at a time. But that's not too necessary. You can do all 6 strings. It's not going to damage anything. Guitars are built pretty good, so I don't think you're going to run into any problems. If you have a really ancient guitar, you might want to rethink that. But for most acoustic guitars, loosening up all 6 strings is perfectly fine. As a tip, as we go through this, I'm just going to give you some tips as we go. What I do is I like to line up the holes so that they're perpendicular to the neck, so that they're all going to line up this way, and we'll show you how we can easily put the string in the hole. But I like to put the holes perpendicular to the neck. Alright, so now that they're all loosened up, I got all 6 strings loose, what we do is take our wire cutters, and close to the bridge, I like to just snip them all off, get them out of the way, and at this point I just take all the strings off one at a time, and this is where if you get caught, watch this, this is where the wire, yeah. So this doesn't have to be a very challenging thing. You know, if you've never done this before, obviously you might want to take your time. But there's all 6 strings. You can coil them up, throw them away. Now you might think that if you looked close, boy, those are probably the dirtiest strings I've ever seen in my life. But those are actually DR Black Beauties, so that they're coated black, so though they're not that dirty. I am going to be putting on some conventional 80/20 bronze. They will look different. But these are DR Black Beauty guitar strings. As far as the peg winder and taking the bridge pins out, most peg winders have a little notch in them that helps you take out the bridge pins one at a time. So you just go around and just pull them up one at a time. And as you go, you can take these strings out, put them to the side. Now that the strings have no tension on the bridge, if you notice, this saddle is actually loose in here. You got to just be very kind of careful that it doesn't pop out, fall on the floor. But guitars that have an acoustic electric capability and they plug in, there's a ribbon underneath. So you kind of got to be careful of how much you move that, because if you move it and there's a lot of slack and you go to put the strings back on, that actually might affect how the saddle sits on the ribbon, and it'll affect the output of each individual string. So you kind of have to be careful of how you mess with that saddle and keep it intact. Alright, at this point we've removed all the 6 strings in one shot, and one at a time we can put the strings back on. Now, putting the strings on, sometimes you can give the string a little bend to help it guide in there. It doesn't matter which pin you pick up. If you notice, I just put them on the ground, I'll put it on the table, I'm going to put them back in. It doesn't matter which one you use. Now, there's always a slot in the bridge pin that you want to put the slot next to the string, feed the ball in first, and this is the tricky part. As you put the pin in, I can actually feel it pushing down, but what I don't want to do is push the ball all the way down and let it sit there and have the pin push the ball down. You want the pin to fit on the side of the ball and go beyond the ball. So I'm actually pulling up on the string and pushing down on the pin at the same time. It's nice and snug. So now I can come over on this side. The trick on this part, remember we lined up the holes perpendicular to the neck? So I'm actually going to feed the string in. I'm going to feed the string in from the inside out, and there's There's another trick. This is what I do. I actually hold the string up just a couple inches like this, and that's exactly how much slack I want on the tuner. Now what I do is I actually take this and I just pinch the string, and what I've done is I create a little Z pattern around the hole. I can actually let go. It's a hands-free process now. I know exactly how the amount of slack I have in the string. At this point, now that the string is through the hole and pinched, locking the string helps it stay in tune and tight to the peg. So I'm going to take the string, go around back to the inside, under the string, like that. So now I'm going to pull it tight around the post, and as far as the locking part, you're actually going to pull up and around on the string. So now I've gone around, underneath, and I've kind of pulled it up and around the feed end of the string. And now I'm ready to tighten it up. I always want to make sure that it goes into the right slot. And you don't have to get it too tight right now. We're just kind of winding it up, making sure that I'm pushing down on the string so that the string feeds down the post. Okay? Now that the string is kind of just pointing my way, I can let it go. Now I'm ready for the next string. I'm going to push down on this pin just to make sure that it's all the way in and kind of just make sure that bridge is in place. At this point, we're actually not going to stop the video. I'm just going to quickly go through the 5 strings. So I'm going to pull up on the ball, push the pin down, come up on the other end, feed it from the inside, slack, pinch it, around and underneath the post. I'm going to lock the string, and then just tune it up, pushing the string down as I tune it up around the post, making sure that feeds into the 5th string slot, push it down, okay, next string. Push the ball in, pull up on the ball, push the pin down, okay. From the inside out, slack, pinch it, underneath, around, lock it, start tightening it down. Okay, only have 3 more to go. 3rd string, push the ball down, pull it up on the ball and the string, push the pin down, and from the inside, now we're on the opposite side, still got to go from the inside out, get the slack, pull the string to the inside again, underneath, and lock it. And since we're on the opposite side here, the peg winder does come into play here. It's a little bit easier to make sure it's in the right slot. Only 2 more to go. Push the ball down. Make sure that the pin, if you notice I'm wiggling the pin a little bit because on these smaller strings actually it does get caught up. So I wiggle the pin a little bit so that it does not push down the ball too far. Inside out, same slack. Pinch it. Up and around. Make sure the string follows down the post, so I'm pushing the string down. Okay. If you notice I'm pushing the strings to the outside, keeping them out of my way. And the last string, from the inside out. The thinner the string, it's a little more difficult to deal with. Pinch it, inside out, and over. Hold it, and we're almost done. So I'm just going to make just a little bit of tension on there, and as I've gone through, I'm kind of keeping an eye on this. As far as for keeping an eye on this saddle, making sure that the bridge is in the same spot it was. All right, so at this point, now that I have tension on the strings, most manufacturers recommend that you do have tension on the strings before cutting the ends off. I'm actually just pushing on the strings just to feel how tight they are. That is nowhere near up to pitch, but at this point there is tension on each string. So I'm just going to now clip them all off. Now this is the point that we're almost done. We want to get our tuner out and I'm just hitting that A, getting an A 440. At this point, you can just keep on tuning up, and from there it's just tuning, and that's it. So if you notice, it's actually a pretty simple approach. It's just there's steps that repeat. If you take off all 6 strings here, remove, clip them, remove all the ball ends, start putting one string on at a time, clip them all at the end after the tension is on the guitar, and at that point tune it up. So that's all it is. If you have any questions, certainly contact stringsbymail.com. We have a plethora of strings available, and to couple that, we have a great knowledgeable staff that will help you choose any guitar string that you desire and want to test out. So thank you for watching, and visit stringsbymail.com. Thank you.